Yes.
Yeah.
Okay. Great. So hi, everyone. I'm Katrina Van Gass. I'm one of the co-founders of the Left Behind Workers Fund and very excited to be here this morning talking with you all. I know we have a limited amount of time, so what I'm going to go over in today's meeting is give you all an overview of the Left Behind Workers Fund to make sure you're aware of our program, what we offer, and why we really started this. Then I'll dive into the specifics of the cash assistance program, and then we'll go over in detail how the outreach referral process will work. And you are on this call today because you are becoming outreach partners for the Left Behind Workers Fund, which just means you can refer people that you believe are eligible to our grant. All right, and before we get started, because I'm presenting and there's only one of me here right now, I will ask that we leave questions for the end. I'll leave time for Q&A. Unless, Mecca, if there are some that come up that you do want me to address in real time, please feel free to stop me and I'm happy to answer them. Otherwise, I'll just wait till the end.
And if people have questions, go ahead and put them in the chat so we can track them, and then we'll make sure we get to them at the end.
Yes, great. All right, so let's get started. So the Left Behind Workers Fund. So we really have three objectives of our fund. The first is we want to help people in extreme need who have nowhere else to turn. And that's why we created this direct cash assistance program. And then we also do run a rental assistance program for the same population. And just so everyone knows, we are helping workers who do not have access to any other federal program support. So these are workers who have been affected from COVID and do not have access to unemployment insurance and the 2021 federal stimulus check. And that's who we're offering this support to. Our second objective is to create precedents for the public sector support for the undocumented community through partnering with our fund. So this is a great example of that, of our partnership with Boulder County and them contributing to our fund to help people in their community. We've also received support from the city of Denver, from Adams County, from the city of Boulder, and from the state, who has stepped up to now support both our cash assistance program and our rental assistance program for next year. The third objective is we want to achieve unemployment insurance equity through changing the law in Colorado. And not time to dive into that during this conversation, but we are actively exploring how to come up with a model for undocumented workers to receive unemployment insurance if they are contributing to that unemployment insurance pool. And we know that undocumented workers in Colorado have contributed more than $200 million into unemployment insurance over the last 10 years and have received $0 in return. So this is really one of the big systemic inequities that we are trying to help solve with our fund. Oh, sorry, can you still see my screen?
Yes.
Yes.
Oh, you can. Okay, great. All right. So those are our main objectives. And for the purpose of this call, I'm going to focus on the Left Behind Workers Fund Cash Assistance Program. And really, I wanted to start with showing you what are the eligibility criteria for someone to get access to this grant. So what this is the program is we give a one-time grant of $1,000 to a worker who has been affected from COVID and does not have access to unemployment insurance or the federal stimulus check. So it is a one-time grant. So if they did apply in 2020, they can reapply again. We're starting everything over in 2021 as if it's a new program, but they can only receive this grant once. So I'm now going to walk through the specifics of the eligibility criteria because as a outreach referral partner, this is really important to know and to understand and to make yourself familiar with all of these eligibility criteria. So the first one is they are not qualified for unemployment insurance. So these are people who do not have access and are not eligible for unemployment insurance. The second is they do not qualify for the federal stimulus check. So everyone who receives a grant from our fund did not get the federal stimulus check. And this is, by using these two criteria, it's a way for us to not directly ask, are you undocumented? Obviously, that's a really sensitive question and something that applicants feel uncomfortable answering. So this is how we get to the same point that they are not able to apply because of their immigration status for these benefits. And then the third is that they have a valid ID. And this can be from the US or their country of origin. And the valid ID means that it's not expired. And this is important because for one of our payment options, which is a Western Union money order number, they have to have a valid ID at time of payment. It's also important because it helps us ensure that we are talking to the applicant who is applying. So for all of these three criteria I just went over, this is all just the applicant confirms this information. There's no documents or paperwork that you have to collect for this. Okay, moving on. The next is that they reside at an address with no more than 2 previous grants. And what this means is that we limit our grant to 3 grants per household address. And we do this because it helps us spread our reach and it helps us prevent fraud. And again, this is just a confirmation from the applicant. The next is all around their employment and job loss. And this is important because we really are focusing our fund on helping workers who have been affected either directly or indirectly by COVID and have experienced job loss. That is who we are helping with this grant. So the next criteria is they were employed 20 hours or more per week for a duration of 2 weeks or longer before experiencing job loss after February 1st, 2020. So this is just saying that they had to be working for at least 2 weeks before they experienced some type of job loss during COVID. And we use February 1st, 2020 as the mark of sort of when COVID started affecting workers. All right, I'm ignoring the column on the right just so you all know, because as referral partners, your job is really to pre-screen for eligibility. You are not in charge of collecting any documentation at all. It's more of the first pass of figuring out, do you believe this person qualifies? The screener's job will be going through and confirming with the applicant, and if necessary, collecting any documentations where that is required. So your job is really just around having an interview with the applicant, asking them these questions. Okay, I'm going to go to the next criteria, which is job loss. So the criteria here is the applicant experienced job loss, complete job loss, or work hour reduction of 20 hours or more per week for a duration of 2 weeks or longer. And the specific is, so at the time when you are screening them, they either currently still have to be experiencing job loss or work hour reduction, or they had their job loss ended within the last 90 days. And the reason we have, so that means they could be back at work now, but maybe 2 months ago, their job loss ended. So they've been working, normally for 2 months, but they recently did experience job loss within the last 90 days. And the reason we do that is because we are trying to help people that are either actively still experiencing job loss or recently did, which we describe as within 90 days. Okay, I am not looking at the chat box right now. I'm sure there might be some specific questions here. So I'll actually pause and see if there's any questions from the group. Mecca, do you want to field those questions to me? I just can't see them on my screen, but happy to go over them now.
Yeah, there's currently no questions in the chat box. If anyone wants to unmute quickly and pose a question, you're welcome to. All right, hearing and seeing none, we'll go ahead and move on.
Okay, we'll keep going. And it's a lot of information, so we'll revisit this in a few minutes. Okay, so that was really to give you an idea of who this $1,000 grant is going to. I'm now going to sort of zoom out and give everyone on this call a picture of how the process flow and how it works. And the reason I'm doing this is you could get questions from applicants wanting to know, how long does it take for me to get the grant, and or where is the data stored, or what type of payment will I be getting for this grant? So you may just get specific questions, and I think it's best if you're equipped to answer those. So I'll go over high level how our process works. So here on the left is where the process starts, which is outreach organizations, which you are considered. So these are people, nonprofits, trusted leaders who are identifying and referring people that they believe are eligible for our grant. And so they're doing the pre-screen process and then referring that applicant over. And then all of those applicants will be tied to a screening organization. So all of the people that you refer over will then be assigned to a screening organization. And how we will likely do it for Boulder County is we will specifically refer you over to screening groups in Boulder, like Amistad. So once a applicant is then with a screening organization, we have a screener contact the applicant back through phone, and they either do a screening at the time they call them or they schedule up a follow-up conversation. The screener is in charge of administering the application, collecting all of the information, and potentially required documents. So they're the ones that are really working with the applicant and making sure that all of the information is input into our survey tool so that the application can be processed. All of that data is stored in one encrypted database. And we do this really so that we can have the highest level of security of data protection for applicants, because we know that is extremely important, especially for this population. So none of the personal identifiable information will be shared with any government agency or group, and you can assure applicants that there is no public charge risk to this benefit. That's something that could come up while you're talking to applicants, and we want to make really clear because we know that we don't do any means test throughout our application. We don't share any PII, and there is no risk for the applicant of public charge from receiving this grant. Once all of the data is input in our database, that's where we then make the payment. So applicants have two different options for payment. If they have a bank, they can choose to do a direct bank deposit through an ACH. And if they don't have a bank account, they can choose to do a Western Union money order number. And with both of these options, the applicant receives a text message letting them know, hey, the Left Behind Workers Fund has sent out your payment, check your bank account, or hey, the Left Behind Workers Fund has sent out your payment. Here is your Western Union money order number. It's like an actual PIN specific to the applicant, and we provide instructions on how they would cash the money order, which is just going to a Western Union agency. There's 350 across Colorado, and getting the grant. For ACH, they will get $1,000 in their bank account. For Western Union money order, they end up getting $975. And that's because there's a very large Western Union fee that is attached to the money order. And then from that, we do offer a payment support line. So if they do have any issues with their with receiving this grant or picking it up at Western Union, they can always reach out to the payment support line. And so from the time they get screened to the time they receive the grant is usually within 7 to 10 days. And so you can tell applicants that they will receive their payment within 7 to 10 days of filling out the application. And then lastly, applicants might also ask, how long does the application take? Usually it takes 20 to 30 minutes. All right. I'll actually pause here. Do I have any questions on the process? Mecca, is there anything in the chat box?
Yep, there was just one about who are current screening agencies. And as far as I know, that's El Centro Amistad and El Comité. Are there any new screeners that we should be aware of?
No, those are the two that will be actual screening organizations.
Okay, and then there's another one. Can you define job loss? Does it include being excluded from work for 10 to 14 days due to COVID, isolation and quarantine, or do they only qualify if they didn't have a job after that period?
No, that's a great question. So we actually we changed our criteria a little bit from 2020 to be more specific, and we specifically say you have to have job loss for 2 weeks. So because we want to capture those that are affected and have to quarantine from COVID. So yes, if they were working, they get COVID, they have to quarantine for 2 weeks, and then they go back after, they would qualify for job loss because they quarantined for those 2 weeks.
Perfect. Thank you. That's all I'm seeing in the chat at this time. I'm also trying to capture just your little tidbits as you're stating them in the chat too. So.
Okay, great. I will keep moving then.
Oh, sorry. How do they receive notification of approval and instructions on receiving funds?
Good question. So they receive all of the communication from the Left Behind Workers Fund through text message on their cell phone. And they receive a text message letting them know, hey, you've been approved, the funds have been sent, and here are instructions. So it's one text message that goes out letting them know they were approved and their money's been sent.
And then another question just popped up. Are they needing verification of job loss? I believe that was on the previous screen of pay stub if possible, but I know you guys are pretty flexible in that too. If you could give other examples.
Yeah, good question. Let me just go to that. So it is our preferred proof of employment and job loss is always pay stub. So when they do have a pay stub, that's what we would like to see. We know that there's situations where they don't. And so we have two alternatives. One is a letter from their employer, and it has to be typed and on company letterhead, stating the specifics of their employment and job loss. If they are unable to get that because of whatever reasons or a tenuous situation with their employer, we do provide another alternative, which is they provide a work reference with contact details. And so this could be a employer, a manager, a supervisor, a coworker. And then we do have another alternative, which we're exploring right now, but I would just, for the purpose of this, these are the two alternatives that we provide. And for the work, if they do give us a work reference, the Left Behind Workers Fund actually sends that work reference a form, and then it's like a self-attestation form that the reference signs saying that, yes, this information is true, and I will act as a reference.
And do the letters have to be in English, the letters from the employer?
As of right now, yes, they have to be in English, but that is something we are also gonna get specific on, which when I do pass over the referral details to your group, I'll have that level of detail on there so that you know. But again, as the referral partner, you aren't actually collecting any of these documents, but it is good to inform the applicant, which is why I want you to have all the details. But yeah, for now, it has to be English.
Thank you.
No problem. Okay, let me keep moving. So here's just some details on the Boulder County specifics. So we received $250,000 from Boulder County, and just so you know, we also are in active negotiation with the state of Colorado, and we do expect to receive $5 million for our fund, which means we will definitely be allocating more grants to Boulder County applicants. So I really see this as, we will get out the $250,000, but then there's an ongoing relationship for this next year to get more grants out to people in your community. The timeline to start screening is February 1st, 2021. That is, we've been in sort of moving over some of our systems and talking with the state. And so this is when we're going to restart up the program. And so this is when you guys will be able to start referring applicants, is the week of February 1st. The pipeline is going to come from Boulder County Screening and Outreach Partners, which includes all of you. And I think all of these grants will go quickly. So, as soon as you start, just the sooner the better you can start referring people once we launch this. And then the funding allocations will split. Mecca, that's something you and I can talk about. Like if we want to start with, 50 referrals, see how quickly you get through that, and then give another 50 for your group, or how we want to do that. But I think we can, at least start with 50. All right. Here, I think someone had a question on this before, but you can see the screening organizations, Amistad, El Comité, and then outreach organizations, El Paso, Jewish Family Resource Center, and then the Boulder County staff members, which are you guys. So again, to reiterate, screening organizations are all of the screeners are trained by an official training through us, and they all use one central survey-based tool to do the application. And then you all fall under the outreach organization, and your role is to really pre-screen and refer eligible applications to screening organizations. Okay, so I'm gonna actually switch over really quickly. And do I have 5 more minutes?
You do.
Okay, that's great. I need to show one more thing. Let's see, exit this.
And in the meantime, there was a comment about Intercombio being a great outreach or potential screening organization. Do you know if anyone's reached out to them, or is that something I could take on?
Yeah, I think, let me look back. I feel like I may have had a conversation with them, but if not, I would love a reintroduction. It'd be great to get them involved. Okay. I'm trying to now share something else. Give me 1 second. Thanks for being patient, everyone. Okay, can you see the PDF?
Yes.
Okay. So I think this will be really helpful for everyone on the call. You will get this before February 1st so that you can make yourself familiar with how to pre-screen and how to refer applicants. But just high level, I'll go over this right now. So really now we're going to shift focus to what you do as in the referral process. So you really have two different roles. One is your pre-screening for eligibility. And this is really just having a conversation with the applicant to determine if they meet all the criteria. And so I'm not going to go over it again, but here's the 6 criteria that you would focus on. And it's really just having a conversation, asking them questions, and determining whether you believe they're eligible. If you do believe they're eligible, then you would move on to the next step. And I know this is kind of probably hard to read, but this is all of the questions you guys were asking around the documents and what's required. Here's where you would let them know you believe that they're eligible, you're going to refer them to the Left Behind Workers Fund, and here's information that they should have ready for the official screening process. So here's where you inform them of the information. And again, I won't go into all the detail, but proof of employment, proof of job loss. The third is that they have a valid ID, and the fourth is that they have their payment information ready. And not just if they have a bank, they should have the bank account routing and bank account number ready. And having this conversation and informing applicants of what documents and information they need ready is extremely valuable for screeners and really does speed up the process. Okay, so that is the pre-screen process. So that's the first thing you do is pre-screen, inform them of what they need ready. And then the next step is you actually refer the applicant. And so what you do, it's very simple, is you click on a link and let me see. Sorry, I'm not used to this demo format. So do you see, what does it say? LBWF grant referral form?
No.
No.
You might have to unshare and then reshare your screen to take us there.
Okay.
So it looks like you guys created a referral form and process. So my Google form is no longer needed.
Yeah, I was going to say, I don't think your Google form is needed anymore.
Awesome.
Which will just be, this will just be like more straightforward. So there's no like having to go in between. It's just immediately assigned to a, LMSED screener.
Awesome.
Okay, let's see. All right. Do you guys see the form now?
Yes.
Okay, great. Okay, so you would have access to a link, and then you would click on the link, and this is what would show up. And so this is how you are actually referring the applicant into our system. And again, I think for you all, we will assign all of the people you refer to one of the Boulder County screening partners. So you can assure applicants that they'll get a call from a employee at one of those organizations. So here's what you do. You would select your organization. It would say like Boulder County. And sorry, it's not on here right now, but it would be. So you would check that. I'll just do Jewish Family Services for right now. And then you would input your name as your actual name as the referral person. So I'm putting my name, put my email, and then here's where you put the applicant information. So it's just the applicant's first name, and then their cell phone number, and then their zip code. And then you can put what preferred language, and then any notes. So one thing that's helpful is you might share, if they did get COVID, that was the reason of job loss, maybe you could put that here because that will help sort of speed up the screener's understanding. Or if they have a specific time that they like to be called, so like best time for call is 12 to 2 p.m. That level of detail can be useful so screeners know when they should give the follow-up call. And any other sort of nuances to the applicant situation that will help inform the screener. You put here, and then you submit it. And once you submit it, it immediately goes into our system. And we have set the expectation that all referrals need to be called back within 5 business days. So your applicant should get a call, and if they miss the call, they should get a voicemail within 5 days of the day that you refer them. All right, let me, again, stop sharing my screen and see if there are any questions. So it's I guess the last thing I'll say is it's very simple, and then you would just do that for every applicant that you want to refer over. And again, we will actually launch this program and start the referral process the week of February 1st.
So I'll note we're a minute over time. I'll keep recording if anyone does need to jump. I appreciate you all for joining. There was a question about when that referral link goes live. I think some people were trying to access it already, and I just let them know that it's not quite ready to be accessed. Trying to make sure I didn't miss anything.
Yeah, February 1st is the date it will go live. And again, we're sort of in a pause right now until we retrain all of the screeners. So we're not taking any referrals until February 1st.
And then I'll also note, so you said someone would get a call back within 5 days of us making the referral. So then would that basically add 5 days on to that 7 to 10 day turnaround time?
That's a good point. It could. I mean, ideally, 5 days is like the maximum, and hopefully, screeners will be calling the next day. But yes, that will add. It's really 7 to 10 days from the time they do the screening application.
And then the other thing I wanted to know is that there's $250,000 from Boulder County that's been contributed, $100,000 from the city of Boulder. And then you're also in negotiations to potentially receive additional funds from the state to support the Boulder County area too. So currently we're kind of looking at around 350 grants. So as you can expect, these are going to go very, very quickly. And so we want to get on the referral process as soon as we possibly can, as soon as it goes live. And then, in hopes that additional funds will become available.
Yes, exactly. And we're very excited that we're confident we will be getting 5 million from the state. And so again, this is almost like we're piloting this, and then we can just continue to expand as more funding comes in for this program with you guys.
All right. If there's any lingering questions, feel free to jump in or put them in the chat. And if not, I'll go ahead and end the recording here in just a moment. And thank you all for attending. I will send this in a follow-up email, the recording, and then you'll receive additional emails from me as the materials become available. So like that cheat sheet that she shared with the link to the referral form in it, once that's available and ready for use.
Great. Thank you all so much. Really excited to get this launched with you all.
Thanks, Katrina.
Yeah. Bye. Bye, everyone.
Ya se fue. Ariel. Vanessa, no te vayas. Ya se fue, Vanessa. Everybody's leaving.
Ditched you.
Janina. Dude, so
yes.
There's only going to be, so this is only going to help 300 families in. 350?
Yeah.
Holy shit. Okay.
Out of the current funding. And then there's potential for more.
Okay.
I also know that several of us are advocating for Boulder County to contribute more funds now that we're into the 2021 budget. But no promises there either.
Okay. All right. All right. All right. All right. All right. All right. Thank you, Mika.
All right. Adios.
Thank you. Bye.